powered by SportsbookReview.com. This is the NFL edition. We're designed to get you ready for kickoff coming up in 1 hour, 10 1 o'clock games. I'm Donnie. He's the big man on campus. Big man, we ready to crush it again on this ticket this week, my brother.
Always looking forward to this show, Donnie, RightSide. Love breaking down all the games. We go through each and every one. Yeah, love it. Looking forward to another profitable week. We're coming off of a 4-2 week, you and I believe. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 3-2. Either way, we have not lost, Donnie, any week this year. All 4 weeks we've been either pushing or positive. So it's been a good season so far.
Yeah, 2-1 for me last week. So we're just keep it positive and keep it moving forward here right on this channel.
Donnie,
let's have a little bit of fun today. What's up, man?
14-9 since we've started. So very good. We're in profit. You gotta listen to this show, Donnie. You and I are putting out the great information, right?
Yep, and also I'm learning new things, new techniques there. Tweet that, Jeff. I actually don't have to go on and tweet or wait for the live link. I can actually schedule one that shoots out, says join us here in the lobby. What a great time to be alive, man.
Yeah. TweetDeck. Odd you didn't know about TweetDeck. It's been around pretty long. But yeah, it's easy when you can schedule stuff. You don't got to worry about waiting for it. Look, let's push 500 live listeners. We always get a good group of people in here. Tell your friends about this show. If you're out there maybe on Twitter, you see the link, retweet it. Get it out to people. The best way to grow something, Donnie, is word of mouth on Twitter. That's how you built yourself, and that's how I built myself. So retweet it, put it out there, get it out there, get people interested in the show.
114 people in here within a minute and a half. We do thank you for the support right here on sportsbookreview.com. If you haven't done so yet, you see the link right here, sbrodds.com. Everything is changing up here, Jeff. We're going to get right into it right now, have a little bit of fun. Let's start 451, 452. Nice battle up here, Jeff, in the Northeast, the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. If we take a look here at sbrodds.com, opens up, Jeff, 3.5 earlier in the week. Now we're seeing threes primarily across the board, maybe 3.5s out there if you're looking to juice it one way or another, taking Baltimore. This one should be interesting. I liked what I saw out of the Steelers last week, Jeff, but the one thing that is going to be tough to overcome, you still have the young quarterback. Let's see if he can push the football down the field. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jeff, active for this football game, but banged up a little bit with a toe injury. We'll see how much that's going to function, but this game is going to be on Lamar Jackson. We know Lamar Jackson, Jeff, can go up and down the field on bad football teams, but when you start playing the better football teams like you have the past 2 weeks, not able to come up with victories, must-win situation here for the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Live dog today, Jeff?
Yeah, if I'm going to bet this game, I'm looking no other way but the Steelers. I've been, at least over the last week. Now, look, again, I know they played the Bengals, but I think you're starting to see this defense really turn a corner, really look like the defense we think that they are. They feature a good group of linebackers, a good secondary. The pass rush has been real good. I mean, Donnie, Stephen Tuitt and T.J. Watt have turned into quite a pairing up front for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be a big test today. You have a Ravens run offense coming in. I don't have to go over the numbers. We know what they like to do. They like to sit on the ground and create through the run game. Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram. And look, the Steelers are going to be tested today. They've not been great against the run. You look at some of these, some of these other backs that have been able to kind of do some decent things against them. They're going to throw 2-3 backs out there and say, look, we're going to run the football, stop us. You also have a quarterback that could do it as well. You talked about Mason Rudolph. I get you've had to tailor the game plan to Rudolph's strengths, and you don't want to put him in bad situations. But again, Donnie, at some point, you're going to have to attack downfield. They do it once in a while. I think you do it more today. This is a Ravens defense that has not been particularly good. I don't think this is the same defense that we once knew. Look, for me in this game, Mike Tomlin's been so good as an underdog in his career. For me, I have to look no other way but the Ravens here. You look at in his career, Donnie, Mike Tomlin, 30-17 as a dog. Keep in mind, those were better Steeler teams, but this is still a group that I think will be good enough against this Ravens offense. I think you're starting to see a little crack in the Ravens, Donnie. They can't defend. If you can just do somewhat well against the run, I think you're going to actually figure them out. They have a good defense. I'm glad to lean on the good underdog team here. Let the training wheels off Rudolph and let him create. I think he finds ways to his boy James Washington Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, pick six contest, Jeff, on SBRodds.com. If you haven't got in on that with Sportsbook Review, you can still do so today. You might not be eligible for the grand prize at the end of the season, but weekly prize is still up there. This is one game that I did choose, Jeff. The over 44 in this game. I think we're going to get some points. And what the alarming thing is when we take a look at the rate, like, Jeff, we're used to the Ravens playing elite level defense, right? Now we're going to take a look at some of the, take the Miami game. You always have to take the Miami out of the equation. They give up 329 yards in the air to Arizona on the road. Then we're taking a look at Kansas City, Jeff. 140 on the ground, 363 in the air versus Cleveland, 193 on the ground and 337 in the air. The question that we keep coming back to, Mason Rudolph needs to push the football downfield. If there are opportunities, they should be able to cash in this one. It's a tough one sidewise because I would like to lay Baltimore, but it's hard to go in the division and pick up a victory because you're probably going to have to cash that ticket to get 4+ points in this football game in order for them to win. I like the over in this game, Jeff. Any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I would agree with you probably on that side of it. I mean, again, I'm more or less looking for the side, but Donnie, I ask you, okay, because when you look at Pro Football Focus, they always put it into kind of a different view of adjusted numbers and things like that. Let me ask you, in his late career, obviously Ben Roethlisberger's lost a bit of a step, right? Hasn't he? Still very slow. I mean, he's lumbering around. I feel like Mason Rudolph's putting them in good positions to win football games. They're doing a nice job at tailoring the offense to him. His adjusted completion percentage is much better than Ben's. Does he put them in a better situation?
I don't think so. I can't go with that just yet. I need, Jeff, it's a good.
But he's always hurt, Ben. He's always got something wrong with him.
He's durable to a degree. I mean, what's he been around 15, 12 years in the NFL? What I'm saying is
he's always got some sort of hampered injury that always creeps up or I don't know, just a fresh pep in the step to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to see him push the football down the field. There's going to be opportunities. And again, getting back to the game where Cincinnati, where you can't take a lot out of it, I can't knock Mason Rudolph, Jeff, for delivering the dump offs, the 8-yard plays over the middle, the 3-yard dumps to the running back. If the other team is going to give that to you and you're winning the football game, isn't that what you want your young quarterback to do? Don't make the mistake, win the football game. I just think you're going to have to push the football down here just a little bit further.
I think one other thing with the Steelers, we have to remember, I mean, they did start out 0-3, but they played the Patriots, Seahawks, and Niners. I mean, what are they, 10-1 together? I mean, those are good football teams. Again, and I'm not saying the Ravens aren't, but I think we're starting to see a crack in the Ravens a little bit. If you're going to give me, 3.5 at home with the Steelers here, I'm interested.
Interesting stuff. Let's keep it moving, Jeff. As we said, 10, Jeff, schedule makers. Come on now. 10 1 o'clock games, 2 at 4 in the 4 o'clock hour. That's just ridiculous. But let's keep it moving. Overseas, Jeff, London game. 453, 454, little Tottenham Hotspur action here. And I'll tell you what's really interesting here, Jeff. I like the fact that they're going to play on field turf. But you know what's interesting? This field has the dome, like that half dome effect. We went down for sportsbookreview.com to Miami, Jeff, went to Hard Rock Stadium. It has that like canopy over, but the field is open. Just showed a highlight there from CBS Sports watching the pregame show, Jeff. It's raining there. So this is going to be interesting. Now, also, when we took the Oakland Raiders, banged up on the offensive line, J.J. Nelson's not going to go wide receiver. Your leading wide receiver, Tyrell Williams, he's down also. Jeff, where are the points coming from if you're looking to back the Oakland Raiders today?
Donnie, it's funny. I've always knew my soccer knowledge would come in to help me in sports betting and football somehow on the other side of the world. But Donnie, I know this from experience. I remember the other day I was watching a soccer game and one of the commentators discussed how it's literally, Donnie, been raining over the last month in England every day. I mean, it's been raining, seemingly over the entire country. And, I actually knew these weather conditions coming into the game. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be raw. It's not warm or anything in England. This could be a tough game for the Raiders. And, for me, I think you asked the exact correct question. Where do the points come from if you're the Oakland Raiders here? I mean, this is a Bears defense that's not given up more than 16 points this season yet. We know how good they are on the defensive side. They could be the best defensive team we've seen over the last 5+ years in this league. We know Khalil Mack's going to kind of be out for blood. And Donnie, I've been reading some of the Raiders quotes or Bears quotes coming out of the locker room. What I love about their defense is they seem to have a love for playing defense. I've talked about whenever you have even young players, particularly in college basketball, it's hard in this day and age to love playing defense. You have to love doing it. And these guys seem to love playing defense. And they talked about the goal, Donnie, is not to just shut down the opposing team. We want to pitch a shutout today. Now, I do think the Raiders are in a better situational spot. They played international games before, and they're probably better suited to deal with it. But this is a defense that's just too good. I don't see where the playmaking is going to come from. This is a team that has very limited weapons on offense. Look, if you had Antonio Brown, maybe I'd have a little bit more interest. But I don't know that Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs, while they are good players, this is stepping up in class a little bit against this defense. I'd be very surprised if the Raiders get to double-digit in points. I'll lean towards the Bears. I'll lean towards the under as well. Chase Daniel, a nice player, but I don't know. England, that kind of thing. I'll lean under the total, and I also like Raiders team total under. I got 17. I got a bit better of a number, but I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, unless you're just going to look out for that random fumble if it's rainy and Chase Daniel gets a strip sack and a defensive touchdown by Oakland. Outside of that, I think it's going to be tough sledding. Also, we take a look in the SBRodds.com pick six contest. Jeff, I was able to get Chicago at -5 earlier in the week. Taking a look at the odds board now, 6.5. Even Chris offshore, Jeff, -7, -101. I agree with the line movement because if you're coming in this game, you're the Oakland Raiders, Jeff, and you're completely healthy on offense, all right, maybe get a puncher's chance. Chase Daniel maybe doesn't have a great game, just as methodical moving the football, and the Bears score like 17 points. You can hang around in this one, but I just don't see it. Like if we're going to hang, Carr back here, make him throw 35 times against this Bears defense on turf, it's going to be a long day for them on offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is the conditions, as you pointed out earlier, are going to be ugly. You already have some concerns on the offensive line. Gabe Jackson's been out. I know Richie Incognito was back, bothered with some injuries as well earlier in the week. Yeah, you had some. I think Brandon Parker, one of their backups, he's injured. So you have some real questionable guys that aren't going to get. They don't have a ton of snap experience as it is. You look at a guy like Colt Miller, Donnie. This guy's not been particularly good in the NFL. I thought it was one of the worst draft picks I've seen in some time last year when they took him in the first round. I had him as a late second, third round pick. They took him in the first round. That's going to be a concern dealing with a guy like him on that offensive line that's already got some problems. I'd be real surprised if the Raiders get to 20 points.
Yeah, official inactive report for the Raiders today, Jeff. Cleveland Farrell's not even going to suit up in this game. Dwayne Harris is out. Another guy, as we talk about punt returner, maybe a fill-in at wide receiver. He's down. Gabe Jackson, as we know, is down. J.J. Nelson down. Tyrell Williams down. And Brandon Parker down. So not looking good. Not a great week to be banged up and go overseas and play a pretty good defense in Chicago. Now, having said that, Jeff, are you willing to lay 7 points if you're going to take the Bears in this one? I think it's one of those demarcation lines we look at saying, you know what, I can't go to 7, which means the Bears would have to win by 2. Even though I do think the Bears have a viable option winning by double digits, anything under 7, I would probably lean towards taking the Bears still at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I said last week, I think Daniel's a better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky right now. But again, I mean, you're having to win by more than a touchdown at this point. Look, if you didn't bet the Bears at 5.5, where you
4.5 evens out there too.
Sure.
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
Again, I've talked about this time and time again. You cannot continue to bet bad lines in the NFL. If you missed the Bears, you just missed it. Avoid it and go look somewhere else.
I definitely agree with that. 4:55, 4:56 now. As we said, Jeff, there are 10 games at 1 o'clock, so not everyone can be 10-bell type efforts here. Arizona and Cincinnati. I got to tell you, Jeff, there's some games, like I like to look into every game. I like to look into the injuries, what's going to take place, if we can find any value in this one. 3 across the board, and I think it's appropriate in this football game, basically saying, all right, both these teams stink. Home field, you get 3 points for it. Let's see if we can add into it. Maybe Mixon has a big day. Maybe Johnson has a big day on the opposite side for Arizona. You're talking about a rookie head football coach, 2 rookie head football coaches, 1 rookie at quarterback here for Arizona today. But looking at the numbers, SBRodds.com, the over-unders come down, Jeff. Opens up at 48.5 offshore. Now we're seeing 46.5. To be honest with you, I wouldn't want to sway anybody in the chat box. Say, hey, man, I got a really good feel in this football game. These are 2 bad football teams. Good luck capping this one, Jeff. What do you see in this one, though, if you do have anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's tough because we do go over every game. You try to give an opinion. If I bet this game, I would definitely look towards Arizona. I just feel a lot more comfortable with Arizona in a spot like this. I know what I'm getting from the Cincinnati Bengals. A pretty inept offense. They can't move the ball, and a defense that is possibly one of the worst in the league. I mean, against the run, they've been just heinous. Against the pass, they've been bad as well. Specifically, their linebackers. I mean, they can't tackle. Their run defensive numbers have been horrific. I do look at Arizona and I say maybe the pace bothers Cincy a little bit. I mean, this is the fastest team in the NFL. We know, Donnie, with the Arizona Cardinals, they don't seem to give up on games. It always seems like certain games they're just hanging around in. I've liked what I've seen at times from Kyler Murray. I think the the opportunistic, fast-paced offense can probably bother Cincy and make them on their heels all game. We know they're going to have that surefire receiver in Larry Fitzgerald and some of these young guys that they can mix and match. They have a pretty good running back in Johnson. I just feel a little bit more comfortable, surprisingly, with Arizona. I think they're a hungry team. I think they finally get their first win, Donnie, an elusive win. I'll gladly take even a money line shot here. I think it's a pretty good spot if I had to play it with Arizona. I know they're not great, but I know Cincinnati, I'm just not getting anything. Their veterans stink. Their young players outside of one or two have been hard to watch. You don't have your best receiver. I think the fast-paced offense kind of bothers them a little bit. I'll lean toward taking the points here with Arizona. I think they get their first win of the year this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you're looking at one side from the Cincinnati Bengals, Jeff. We already know they're down A.J. Green, but also down Ross as well, who seemingly out of nowhere starting to show some NFL talent. But then you look on the Arizona side, and if you watch late in the football game versus Seattle last week, Christian Kirk twisted up his ankle. He's out for this football game. So there's a lot of dead weapons out here to go back and forth, and that number just seems too high. Again, I don't have a wager on it, but I always like to give analysis and say, you know what, if I was going to be able, I still, even though I know Arizona's going to go fast, we know Cincinnati's defense stinks. Arizona, hell, Jeff, they don't have a good defense either, but you still need weapons. If you're going to say, all right, let's run the football on both sides, that clock is going to tick. I would have a slight lean towards the under in this ball game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a guy like Kirk being out hurts, but again, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, it seems to be timeless. I mean, he's finding ways to
especially if you bet against them, Jeff, he's coming for you.
Oh, sure. No, 100%. That's 100% right. Maybe our boy Andy Isabella, Donnie, can find a way to get involved in this game. But again, I think we've talked about trench battles, up front. I mean, the Bengals might have the worst offensive line in the league. I think that's safe to say. I mean, they have been a horrific group for a long time. I just have no interest in Cincinnati whatsoever. The only, I think good part of this is they are at home, but we've seen, Donnie, to just pick a team because they're at home is nonsense. I think Arizona wins this game. They get their first win.
Jeff, by the way, 15 minutes into the show right now, touching 400 live viewers here. We do appreciate each and every one of you guys that come in here. Fire away on the chat box. Try to say hello as much as we can. And, of course, when Jeff's talking, I'm talking. We try to be active in that chat box. So let it fly. Information that you have, bounce it back and forth to guys in the chat box. That's what we're here for. Jeff, win these people some money and give them the information that they might not be getting elsewhere at this point. Let's keep it going. 457, 458, Jacksonville and Carolina. Minshew and Allen, Jeff, two young quarterbacks squaring off. If we take a look at SBRodds.com, that line opened up at 3 at Pinnacle, Jeff. You know where it is today? At 3. Opened up at 4 at Chris. Now sitting at 3.5 at Chris. So depending on where you're shopping at, get those lines because as we know, Jeff, if you want one side and get the 3, take it. If you have another book, that's a 3.5. You like the dog, take that side as well. Always important to shop around, but this one's going to be interesting here. Minshew now going on the road, and I got to tell you, Jeff, last week I had the Denver Broncos, and I was feeling fat and happy at halftime. And Minshew and Leonard Fournette turned it on the second half and made the plays and played a really good football game in a tough environment on the road, which we saw Minshew, Jeff, go down to Houston in a tough environment and outside running the football up the middle on a 2-point conversion. You probably could have won that football game as well. So they're showing a lot. But now we're getting into a Carolina Panthers defense, Jeff, that has been fantastic over the first 4 games. Minshew's going to be tested. I was trying to see last week that same, if Joe Flacco doesn't throw that interception before halftime, I wonder what the response would have been from Jackson in the second half. Let's just say down 20-3 as opposed to being back in the football game at 17-6. But looking at this game here, look, still 2 young quarterbacks. Kyle Allen, if you can get to him, you can make him fumble. We know Jacksonville has a good pass rush. We know Carolina's playing well. This just shapes up as one of those games, Jeff, field position type game. And if I'm going to sit on like that 40 or 41, might be leaning towards an under in this one. I just think it plays out that way.
Yeah, if I had to look towards at least an under in the 1 o'clock group of games, this would be the one I'd have some interest in. We look at last week, but I think is what impressive about Gardner Minshew is 2 of his 3 wins have come on the road. I mean, that's you mentioned that, against the Texans and the Broncos, 2, games, that come on the road. Impressive stuff by him. It's another road game here. Donnie, I'll say this right now. If the Carolina Panthers had a competent quarterback, a healthy quarterback, a guy that can move the football, I think they'd be a real kind of playoff type of team. They're an interesting defense. They've really started to find their way through the air. You look at their pass defense has been lights out, Donnie. I mean, pass attempt, they're only allowing about 4 yards net-wise in every pass play. They're getting to the quarterback. They've just been really impressive to watch. Sack rates over 11%, which is very good. I really like what I'm seeing. This is the first really good good defense Minshew's going to have to face. So do you kind of lean on the run, try to get that going with Leonard Fournette, who's having a pretty good season? I don't know. I don't see them being able to move the ball at a real high level. There's not a ton of weapons for the Jags outside of one or two guys. You also look at the Carolina Panthers. Talked about their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Kyle Allen came back to earth a little bit last week. I think that was pretty obvious. Again, it's too bad you don't have a quarterback because you have the best running back in the league and some really nice young weapons. I just don't know that he can command the offense like maybe we think he can. I think this is probably first to 20 win the game. I'll lean with like a 2014, 2017 type of game. I'll lean this under. I think both defenses really come to play in this.
I'll tell you what's really interesting, Jeff, because when you look, everything is built and slanted towards the offense. And coming into the season, did we think that, Carolina was going to have a good defense? Yeah, good. But what's one thing we always think they're lacking is that they can get pressure on the front seven. Luke Kuechly and the linebackers fast and athletic, but they're always a little bit, off in the secondary. Look at their first 4 games, Jeff, versus the Rams. We've seen the Rams throw for over 400, 500, close to 500 yards at times, 183 yards. Tampa Bay, we watched them scorch over the past couple weeks on offense, especially throwing the ball. 189 they held them to. Arizona, which runs 100 miles an hour and is a wide open passing game, 127. And Houston with, to me, if you're not going to say the best wide receiver in football, DeAndre Hopkins, at least a top 3 guy, Jeff, 128 yards. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they're really on fire. I mean, credit to them for for playing well. I mean, they don't have real big names in that secondary, and they're not doing a ton, but they've been really a team that's answered the call. I mean, you look at last week, Donnie, for Allen. I mean, faced a better defense in the Cardinals. I don't think Houston's anything special on defense, but I mean, he only scored 16 points. I think he comes back to earth a little bit. I mean, frankly, Donnie, I'm kind of interested in the Jags a little bit here to hang around. This seems like a close game. I'm not really sure I'm ready to lay points with Kyle Allen. I think both defenses will answer the call today. So I would lean Jags and I'd lean under. But another game that I'm not on or anything, I'd lean dog and under.
Pick 6 contest, Jeff at SBRodds.com. I have Jacksonville plus 3.5, minus 120. Took it a couple of days. That's still available technically out at some books if you can shop, but I did make that a wager, specifically looking at you, Jeff, and the same breakdown that we both have. The game's going to be close. Is somebody going to run away with this football game? I don't think so, but I think if you take the points here, you're going to be in it. I think Minshew has a decent game. And look, unless he just gets shut down, say, oh, you know what? We were waiting on that game for Gardner Minshew. I'm going to take the 3.5 points here.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you there. I just think what you're getting at the quarterback position is just a bit better. We know the run game could probably find ways to move the ball. And again, I'm not really Kyle Allen's a nice story and all, but now you got to lay points as a favorite. I'm not ready to do that. Donnie, do you think this keeps up for the Panthers defensively? Do you think they come back to earth at some point? I mean, they've obviously exceeded expectations. We know they'll come back to earth a little bit, but these numbers are going to be hard to keep up. How long do they keep up with this?
I don't know. Law of averages would say it probably is going to make up, especially in today's NFL. But it's not like we're saying well, Jeff, they played the Bills. They played the Eagles without any wide receivers. They played the Jets. Like you're talking about Tampa Bay and the Rams are factored in there. They haven't given up a 200-yard passer yet. And today, is this a high-flying offense we're going to see out of the Jaguars? I think it holds up today.
Yeah, I think today it'll hold up. Obviously once like a Drew Brees comes back, you're going to play Tampa at some point. All those teams obviously have pretty good passing offenses. But yeah, ride it for as long as you can, I guess.
Let's have some fun in this next one, Jeff. Northeast game right here. Near and dear to our hearts, 459, 460. If you're in the Philadelphia area, we're actually getting this game as a national game along with the Philadelphia Eagles game. So this should be interesting to watch. Kirk Cousins coming. Yep, exactly. Kirk Cousins coming in hot, apologizing, can't play football. I should say hot, as in the hot seat at this point. Not he's coming in throwing darts out there. Now, Stephon Diggs, Jeff, misses 2 meetings, 2 practices, and gets $200,000 in fines heading into this football game. Now, the one thing that we like about the offense for the Minnesota Vikings with the matchup against the G-Man defense, speed at running back. No linebackers for the Giants, completely banged up. And already devoid of playmakers as it is. You have 2 elite level wide receivers, Jeff. You just need a guy that's going to be able to pitch and catch to him. One thing is different than the other. Last week, going to play on a sloppy field in Chicago versus an elite level defense. You tend to not look so good in that game. But I'll tell you, being on turf, nice conditions in the Meadowlands, 70 degrees, 2 wide receivers angry, Jeff, we're going to see any deep shots here from the Minnesota Vikings early? And why shouldn't the Vikings be able to break out of their malaise and get into the mid-20s in this football game, at least on offense here?
Yeah, before we get into the breakdown, Donnie, keep in mind if you're a Vikings fan, last year you paid Kirk Cousins $26 million. This year you'll pay him $28 million, and next year you will pay him $30 million. Just amazing. But yeah, just something to think about. Yeah, look, if you're the Vikings, I think this game is, Donnie, really a turning point for them. Or kind of a game where if you can't perform against this defense, Kirk Cousins, I really don't know what to say. I feel like you're hopeless. And the problem for the Vikings, RightSide, is they don't have a someone to go to. You don't have a young, Gardner Minshew or a guy like that you can hand the reins to and say, okay, let's take a shot here. And again, they're a contending team. They're not going to do that. You're really in a hard place with Kirk Cousins here. Your receivers are pissed off. And if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I'd make a call about Stephon Diggs. He obviously seems like he doesn't want to be there. And in the growing NFL, that's never good for a receiver's morale. If I'm looking at something today, I'll tell you what I'd really look at. Thielen's going to have a big game here. You got to get him the football. This is a terrible secondary. You mentioned it. This is a terrible linebacking group with guys out. This is a pass rush that's not getting there. It really just goes to show you, Donnie, how bad the Redskins are. They couldn't move the ball against this team. You have to throw the football. You have to move the ball through the air. Lean on the run when you can. But Kirk Cousins needs to come out, Donnie, and say, I am a decent quarterback, and I can perform when I need to, and here's what I was able to do. Kirk Cousins should have 300 passing yards today, Donnie. It's that simple. It's on the road. I get it, but it's a bad team with a bad defense. If I'm looking at it, I feel like the Vikings in the regular season normally answer this call. The one thing that has me at pause, I'm laying almost a touchdown here, and it's on the road. This is a Vikings team, as you and I have talked about. There's a split home away with this group. They're just not a great team laying points. You look at over the last 3 seasons, 7-10 against the spread on the road, including this season, 0-2 so far on the road. They've been good as a favorite, not been good on the road, though, which I have concerns about. I think Daniel Jones can move the ball as well. I look towards the over here, Donnie, and have some interest.
Yeah, and the linebackers, Jeff, that are out for the New York Giants, Lorenzo Carter is out. Ryan Conley, who had been a starter, tore his ACL. He's obviously out. Tay Davis is out, and also Alec Ogletree on a team that's devoid of talent. Look, if you can't there's going to be some serious issues if they can't get it going today against the New York Giants. But how about we flip it over and talk a little bit about the New York Giants offense itself, Jeff? Getting a little bit of help back in the football game today. Not the greatest wide receiver, but Golden Tate is an NFL pro. He's been around the block. He's going to add that extra option from Sterling Shepard, who's played so well. And also you have an elite level tight end that can get down the field. You're looking at a top 5 defense coming in on the Minnesota Vikings. But the one thing that I do like, Jeff, about Daniel Jones is even in the preseason, they moved the football. The 2 games he started, he put up 32 points and 24 points as a starter. So I think the Giants are going to be able to move the football. Are they going to dominate, move up and down the field on Minnesota? Probably not, but I think they're going to get their points here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I talked with you last night. I was surprised to see where this totals went and where it is. I thought really we would be sitting on probably a 47, 48 here. I'm surprised that the total is where it is. And if I'm looking at an over, it's definitely one I have some interest in. I have a feeling the Vikings can get mid-20s, maybe high 20s here. I feel like the Giants could put, 17 points on the board, 20 points on the board. This isn't a great Vikings defense. They're still competent. But I think Daniel Jones at home should be able to move the ball. They basically made it clear, they're going to throw the ball. I don't know the running game has a ton of success here. I think Jones is going to have to throw the football, and you mentioned the new weapon back. Yeah, over looks like one of the better plays. I have a feeling, Donnie, this is going to be one of our plays at the end of the show.
Absolutely. Taking a look at the lines across the board, Jeff, at SBRodds.com. Pinnacle showing a 5.5 for Minnesota, the favorite, a 5 at Chris, a 6 at DraftKings in New Jersey. Shop around, get those lines. I mean, you're talking about a full point that you might be able to maneuver around. That's going to be pretty key information. The Pick 6 contest, Jeff, I do have the Minnesota Vikings over 43.5 in the contest, so we'll see if that holds up there. But an interesting game nonetheless. How about this one, Jeff? You ready for this? A lot of points, a lot of explosion on offense from the Washington Redskins. 461-462. Tom Brady and the boys in town in the nation's capital. And guess who's going to play a quarterback? Colt McCoy. Yeah, didn't have much of a preseason. As a matter of fact, he had no preseason, didn't have much of an offseason. Let's just throw him in, see what happens here. The one thing they are going to get a little bit of a boost at is their best wide receiver coming back in McLaren today to try and stretch the field. But right behind the Chicago Bears, Jeff, I think you can agree, the New England Patriots defense has been just that good. 81% of the tickets coming in offshore straight up for the New England Patriots in this one, Jeff. We're sitting at 16.5 across the board on a road team. But does it get any thought pause and say, hey, man, I know what I saw from Washington the first couple weeks of the season. Why isn't this game 31-13, right?
Yeah, if I was a line maker, and I mean this, I'd put this number at 17. Personally, I think the Redskins are that bad. I think the only reason they're not – I mean, I think you can make the case they're the worst team in the NFL. I think the Dolphins will beat them next week. We've talked about that, you and I. Here's the brass tacks on the Redskins. You talked last week about Sheriff. He's out. I mean, this is a mess of an offensive line. I mean, Colt McCoy, doesn't it seem like, Donnie, every game he plays in, he gets a concussion? It seems like the guy's always having some sort of horrible injury, which you got to feel bad for him. But, I asked myself this, and I say, well, how do the Redskins move the ball here? Because, it's not like they have a bell cow Saquon Barkley running back, Donnie. I mean, they don't have that kind of player. They have an offensive line that can't block. Their two tight ends are out, and that's a concern. When you have a new quarterback, the tight end, as you know, is always the safety blanket. You always want to get it to him. Don't have those guys in. You don't have a big play receiver. McLaurin's on one leg, it seems like. And then I look over and I see a team that has not given up a passing touchdown in 4 weeks. Donnie, it's quite amazing how good Gilmore, McCourty, and Jones have been. You look at collectively as a group, they've on 77 targets allowed 37 receptions and a catch rate of just over 48%. That's amazing. That's outstanding. That is A-level type work. They are doing a bang-up job. And this could very well, Donnie, be a game where they don't give up another passing touchdown. For me, I like New England first half. They have actually, Donnie, covered all 4 games, I believe, in the first half this year.
And some big numbers, yeah.
Yeah. I have no reason to think this isn't like a 21-7, 17-0 type of game in the first half. Plus, we also have to remember, Donnie, if I'm Bill Belichick, look, I don't know what Bill Belichick says before games. I don't know if he says anything, to be real honest. But if I was him, my goal would be in this one, let's get this game completely over by the third quarter. Let's be up double digits, 3 touchdowns at half. We have a game Thursday night. We have to obviously preserve our bodies. I don't know. Who's the backup? Brian Hoyer? Is he still the backup? I don't even know anymore in New England who the backup is. One of those young kids. I'm putting one of the young kids in this game.
Stidham?
Sure.
Who's it? Stidham?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If I'm them, I think he's in by the fourth quarter. We've seen a lot of blowouts in the NFL. It's just what this league is.
Slow burn, Jeff, right? In this game, like the typical, here's what I would say would be shocking. I would be shocked, Jeff, if New England doesn't have double digits before Washington scores. 13-0, they get a field goal, make it 13. I would be very surprised if this is like a 3-3 ball game at all. I think they get the double digits and it goes to one of those, Jeff, 10-0, 13-0, 13-3, 20-3, 23-3, one of those games. But we do know, Jeff, sometimes New England gets bored in the second half. They won't be bored in the first half.
That's why I isolated the first half here. I don't want to worry about the second half. I think what we saw last week, Donnie, is a real scary spot if you're a Redskin fan. I mean, you weren't able to move the ball against the Giants. They're the worst defense in the league. And, Donnie, I was actually quite concerned with Jay Gruden and where he is as a human being, as opposed to, we know he's a bad coach, and we know he's stealing money. But, Donnie, you didn't find that to be a little scary if you're a Jay Gruden? I mean, you're literally your season's down the drain. He looked like a guy, Donnie, that hasn't slept in weeks. He looked like he was physically kind of lost in life. You're at a bar openly smoking weed. I mean, it seems like
was he really? See, I didn't follow any of that. I heard he was in trouble for a tape, so he was at a bar smoking weed.
Unless that tape was years ago or something, but there was a tape going around of Jay Gruden out at a bar, hanging around with the females, which I get it, do your thing, but he didn't look like he had any security around him. I mean, it's just that's what you're doing as a coach, Donnie.
Look,
coach.
when you're
He's
in
not
a
a
bad
player.
organization, you've been in a bad organization for a while, you have all the money in the world now, and it turns out that they're drafting quarterbacks you don't even want. You probably just want to break away and say next year, you know what, let me just go back to being an offensive coordinator and having fun in a decent franchise. If you are part of the Washington Redskins franchise, not even the players want to play there, let alone the coaches want to coach there. It's an amazing dynamic.
Donnie, Jay Gruden is not 40 or 35. He's 52. This is not the way a 52-year-old man operates.
He doesn't even look 50. He doesn't actually. He looks like he's younger than 52.
I don't care if you're an NFL coach or not. Donnie, if you see a 52-year-old at a college bar, what do you say? That guy's a fucking loser.
He's having a midlife crisis or something.
Right. This is a 52-year-old male. What are you doing with your life? You're a coach in the NFL. This is behavior that shouldn't be happening. And Dan Snyder is losing that football team. They're already lost.
He lost it 20 years ago.
But if you're a player on this team, I don't know how you play for this guy. I don't.
No, and look, he's putting his boy Colt McCoy in completely frozen, and watch him have a pretty good game. And look at the Redskins fight, which I don't think is going to happen, but it is the way it is. It's always a fun topic to talk about.
It's not the point. We have to, as a society, stop accepting this and laughing about it. This is not the way a coach behaves. It's that simple. I understand weed is legal in a lot of places, and he should be smoking weed because his team stinks. But this is not how a coach operates. This behavior should not be put up with. It's that simple.
We'll see what happens here, Jeff. 463, 464. If you see me and Jeff, we're in a pretty good mood this morning and nice and relaxed. Well, it's because the Jets are in town and the Eagles are going to move to 3-2 today. Favored by 14 points across the board at SBRodds.com. A ton of injuries for the Jets. And one of the ones that we laughed about all week long, Jeff, is your Adam Gase. Look, I think Adam Gase is actually a good offensive mind. I do. You got a lot of the Miami Dolphins, trying to push that thing forward with Tannehill and a bunch of bums. Comes over to the Jets, and he hasn't had a very good card that's been dealt in his direction. But I got to laugh about this, Jeff, because he's so singular in his mind that his quarterback, who you hope is going to be your quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, he's pushing this kid to play, gives him every rep in practice, when legitimately, if he takes a hit too early, if his spleen isn't ready, he could die on the football field. Adam Gase didn't give a damn, gave no reps to the backup quarterback, Luke Falk, who is starting today, and just says, voila, welcome to Philadelphia. Good luck, kid.
This is another guy that's completely stealing money as an NFL head coach. Just not a coach. It's just that simple. Maybe a coordinator, but he is not an NFL coach. And I agree with you. Another dangerous behavior here if you're an NFL coach. I mean, and Donnie, you knew he wasn't going to play.
The Jets season is done. The only thing you're worried about is let me get a good draft pick next year and have my franchise quarterback intact.
Yeah. You knew he wasn't going to play, Donnie, yet you don't give Luke Falk any first team. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No backup plan? There was no contingency
plan? No. It's literally like, hey, Luke, you're in, even though we know you can't. I mean, this offense, how vanilla is it going to be, Donnie?
Yeah, Luke. To put it in perspective, Luke Falk was running the Eagles playbook for a scout team this week, and now he's playing the Eagles. Awesome.
I want to make this clear, and Donnie, we are I'm a really passionate Eagles fan. You don't get mad like I do.
No.
I'm going to make this clear. Right. If this team gives up over 10 points to this Jets team, I'm going to be fucking
10. Come on.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, right side. They got 3 fucking cornerbacks on this roster today, and that's important to talk about. I don't want to hear Sidney Jones's name. He ain't playing in this game. He's better than I do.
He's like Melvin Gordon was last week. Look, if everybody dies on the field,
we'll play
out there, just so we can have 11 out there. Yeah,
I remember when they played the Falcons, Donnie. Dallas Goedert, he's active. He's going to play. God doesn't play one snap. That's what Sidney Jones is today. If we don't have anyone left, we'll throw him in.
If we need an 11th guy, he's going to go out there and play 30 yards off the ball.
Now, here's the problem. Your cornerbacks today are Russell Douglas, Craig James, not Rick James. James.
Not the guy that played for SMU way back in the 80s with Eric Dickerson. Yes, go ahead.
No, Craig James, the guy who has had in the NFL 1 snap. He's played 1 snap in this league.
Yeah, but if you grade him on the snap, I mean, he's the best there is.
Worked out because he knocked the ball in the air, even though it was probably pass interference.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of bodies, and this is also the same team that seemingly decides we're not going to go out and add anyone. We're just gonna do what we got to do, paint by numbers until it bothers us. This ain't going to be the team to do it. But this is a defense. You got it. The pass rush has got to be working today. This has been a Jets offensive line all year that has been a mess. Kelechi Osemele, who's probably their best offensive lineman, he's out as well. I'm going to say this right now. This will be a pick for me at the end of the show. Eagles roll 38-13. This offense looks very good today.
I like the over. I do. That brings up the over in this game. We're talking about 43.5 across the board for most of the week. I think and it's a shame too, because the gambler in me, Jeff, I actually wanted Sam Darnold to play because I think it would help them score a little bit more points than Falk has. But I think just by default, you're going to have the Eagles up. You're going to have a banged up Eagles team. Are they really going to be pressed in the fourth quarter? That's where you get that one drive, Jeff, that we like to talk about, the 60-yard drive where it's 5 dump downs to Le'Veon Bell and they punch in a late touchdown for the over. I actually like the over in this game.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to do a lot of scoring here. They always do at home. I mean, Donnie, you look at Wentz's numbers at home, and he has been really good in his career at home. I mean, just some insane number. I mean, with him as the quarterback, Donnie, they put up 27 points a game. They're beating teams by almost 10 points a game, almost 2 passing touchdowns a game, doesn't throw any interceptions. You got to show out on both sides of the football here, and I think that's the goal. Let's go out and not only shut them down, let's force turnovers. Let's hit this team into oblivion. This game reminds me of the Super Bowl year, Donnie, when they played Denver.
Or the Bears when they iced them like 31-3.
Yeah, I think they put up like 50 on Denver. I don't know if they'll put up 50, but I think they push 40. I really do. I think Eagles have a big day here.
Yep, and I guess if all goes wrong, Jeff, I'm sure a lot of people out there in the chat box today will come back to this YouTube video, support the channels, and retweet it out there. Ha ha! These two stupid idiots said the Eagles would win easy.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles somehow find ways against teams like this to have trouble. I'd be really surprised if this game's within 20 points at any time.
All right, Jeff, 20 minutes left. Let's hit this sprint right now. 465, 466, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. How about this one, Jeff? Tampa Bay fresh off an electric effort. 55 points on the road against the Rams. Now they go into the Dome. Tough place to play. But the one thing we know with Teddy Bridgewater in the center, that offense doesn't work for New Orleans Saints at all. Averaging like 250 yards over the past 3 games. That's not going to get it done, especially on an offense that can really put up the points with Jameis Winston, who's having a pretty good season there. Now, do they trust him late in the game? That's another story. But during the game, certainly getting the ball to Mike Evans, and they're dominating. How about this line, Jeff? We open up SBRodds.com, 4.5, 5.5 to open. Now we're down to 3s across the board with an over-under of 46. It's as simple as to me, Jeff. If I'm laying points, I need to know I have an offense that can score. Because if we're taking, 20-17, you're not covering that game. You need to be in the high 20s in this game for the New Orleans Saints. And offensively, Jeff, I just haven't seen it with Teddy Bridgewater yet.
Yeah, and I was very happy with the Saints' performance last week against the Cowboys defensively. If you're going to play one game defensively well, last week was the game. I'm still not buying it with this secondary. From a long-term perspective, I don't think they're going to have a lot of success. They're giving up a lot of completions. They're giving up a lot of yards. And this is a game where they're going to be tested. We know Winston can make mistakes, but we all know that Winston can also move the football. We know they like to throw the football downfield. They have plenty of receivers that go up and get it. Chris Godwin's turning into one of the better underrated receivers in the NFL. This is an offense that's going to move the football. I think you're right. I think this is a case of can Teddy Bridgewater step up to the plate and move the ball. I talked last week. I think if you're going to be in a situation as a backup quarterback, this is arguably the best in the league to be in. You have a great running back, one of the best in the league. You have a terrific wide receiver in Michael Thomas. You have a pretty good offensive line. I think we see some points in this game, in my opinion. I think this gets close to 50. I think we push 50, 31-24, maybe even eclipse it. I think the Saints can get on the score, but I just don't believe in the Bucs defense.
Now, let me change this up there for you, Jeff. New Orleans, if we're getting some line move, Pinnacle's at -3, -101. So theoretically, you could probably get a 2.5 out there, like -120. If that's 2.5, do you lean more towards New Orleans? You say, you know what, that line's racing. I just think Tampa's going to win outright here.
Yeah, I mean, the side's tough.
That 3.5, 4.5 early in the week, that would be really nice in this football game. But now we're talking, look, when we talk about the closing line, we're not out here saying, hey, me and Jeff took this Tuesday. That doesn't really matter to anybody in the chat box. If we're looking at 3s now, it does make it kind of hard.
Yeah, at this number, I'm staying away. It's a toss up
Yeah.
because I like Winston. I like that
Mhm.
offense, but I also don't trust him. I think this defense is more of what we saw last week as opposed to what we've seen with them. I think they're a bad defense. I think up front they have, Barrett's a good player, and occasionally they're pretty good against the run, but I don't trust their secondary. I think we see fireworks here, and we're getting a pretty good total. Just get the ball to your playmakers. Teddy, don't make any mistakes. Get the ball to the playmakers. They'll make some plays. I think he's one of the better backups in the league. I get what you're saying. He's not, he's not going to show out and put up 300 yards, but get to the ball to the playmakers. You're going to have a clean game here, no weather. I think I lean over. Real quick, Donnie. We also, as listeners, have to stop with selective hearing. I did not say that I think the Eagles shut the Jets out. I said they should shut them out, but as usual, I don't think they will. And again, I also said the Eagles would push 40 points. So the fact that I said that I like the over makes a ton of sense, doesn't it, Donnie? Because if you push 40 points, the game's likely to go over.
Look, and the Eagles' defense isn't the right recipe for shutouts. If you want to beat a bad team, you just crush the quarterback and you have a lockdown secondary. That's not what the Eagles do right now.
Yeah, and again, Chad Costanza, you got to listen up here. You clean your ears and listen up here. I think the Eagles push 40. I think this game goes over. It's that simple.
467, 468, Jeff. Atlanta and Houston, two interesting teams, which I got to tell you, it's not fun backing either one of these teams at times, but the tale as old as time is the Houston Texans playing the role of the favorite, at least over 3 points. They're usually kind of tough to sit there and back, but you're going against an Atlanta team that's captain soft. I had Tennessee last week, one of the easier victories that you're going to have. Heck, Tennessee didn't even need to score in the second half, Jeff, and still covered and won that game easily as an underdog by double digits. Julio Jones needs to have a big game today. Matt Ryan needs to get protection from a banged-up offensive line. There are weapons on both sides, but some of the more maddening play calls that we're ever going to get out of a football game. Checking out SBRodds.com, Jeff, across the board, we're at 4s right now with an over-under sitting at 49.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling great about this. The number's going down. I bet the over. I'm not feeling great that it's going down. Kind of a weird factor that it's going down. But I look at both these teams, Donnie. You mentioned the offensive line for Atlanta. Do get Alex Mack back, it looks like, which that's obviously good news as their center. We look at what Atlanta does. They have the number one pass percentage in the NFL. They just throw. That's all they do. They don't run it. They do nothing in the way of a run game. Matt Ryan's first in seemingly every passing yard category. And, Donnie, this is a Texan secondary that has yielded some big performances to other wide receivers. They are going to get beat deep. And this is an offense that's just going to throw it. I also look at the Falcons secondary. How on earth are they going to stop this trifecta of receivers for Houston?
Stills is down in this game, so they get a little bit of a reprieve, but you're right. They still have two elite level wide receivers on both sides.
Yeah, and QT's active, no?
QT should be active, yes, and obviously Fuller, right?
Yeah, I just think you have two teams. When you're betting on over in the NFL, obviously you're going to want to look at percentages. I don't look at either of these teams as big-time run teams. They're not going to slow the game down and run the ball. You have two quarterbacks that can sling it around. Good weather here. Well, there is no weather. It's in a dome. I also look at Atlanta. They've actually went quite quick from a pace of play perspective. I just don't trust either of these defenses. I think we see a high-scoring game here. I think it's a shootout. I'd be surprised if one of these teams doesn't get into the 30s. I think this is back and forth all game. Now, I want to also make it clear, Donnie, we've talked about Houston's offensive line in the past, which is interesting. Deshaun Watson's actually had a pretty clean pocket to throw in, surprisingly enough. He's top 10 in the league as far as quarterbacks. He's got plenty of room to throw the ball. He just needs to connect. You have the guys move the ball downfield, and if you're Atlanta, you allowed Marcus Mariota to throw 3 touchdowns. Not exactly a high-powered offense there. I think this is a high-scoring game.
How about this one, Jeff? 469, 470 heading down Buffalo. We talked about it on the Audible earlier this week. Even Whale Capper brought up maybe the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl, which they come up a little bit short, losing 16-10, but obviously getting the cover for the majority of the people out there if you bet the Buffalo Bills. Now going on the road, Josh Allen got knocked basically out in the football game last week. He does clear concussion protocol. I believe that took place late Friday or early Saturday morning. So he is going to play in this game. Tennessee Titans coming in off a nice victory at home. The line looks a little bit cheap to me, Jeff, because we're taking a look across the board at some 3.5s out there with juice, depending on which side that you're looking to take it. I was actually waiting on this game because I wasn't going to give it out like as a premium play or anything, but if I could have gotten the 3.5 and Devin Singletary was going to play, I look at like a knockdown effort in this football game. Two teams that aren't necessarily fast. The Buffalo Bills do have an elite defense. They should be able to slow down the Tennessee Titans on offense, and you're getting Josh Allen back, which should be a good thing, even though he's probably going to be a little bit foggy, but did have some full practices this week. This one came down to me, Jeff. If I get 3.5, probably going to lean towards the Buffalo Bills here still.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm looking under the total. I think this could be the lowest scoring game of the week. Wouldn't surprise me, Donnie, if this game's 13-10 or something. I think we have a low scoring game here. And I read an article, Donnie, this week about punting. Do you know who the worst punter in the NFL is?
I do not.
He plays for the Buffalo Bills. His average is shocking, really bad.
Yeah, but does that mean he's just trying to pin people deep, though?
I don't know. I'd have to look more into that. But according to net punting average, he's the worst in the league. Tennessee is a pretty good punter in Brett Kern. That could be an interesting dichotomy in this game. But you mentioned it, Josh Allen, foggy, hasn't had a ton of practice this week. I don't know how effective he's going to be. The big boy running back, he's out in Singletary. You just have two really good defenses here. And you have a Tennessee team, RightSide, that's not sustaining drives. They have one of the worst third down conversion rates in the NFL. It's not going to get any easier today against a really good defense. I think Tennessee's a pretty underrated team as well. I think both teams are going to lean on the run in this game. And, you know, from a pace of play perspective, neither of these teams is particularly fast. In fact, they both sit in the bottom 15 in the NFL. So I'm going to lean under. I think this is a 20-13, 17-10 type of game. If this is a 34-31 game, I don't know what to say. I'd be
they just tip your cap and be like, oh, my God, I can't believe what happened. Yeah. This game has like a hard-hitting defensive effort, and that's what you get out of the Buffalo Bills, and that's usually what you get out of Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee is going to move it up and down the football field on the Bills. I think you're going to get a pretty good, one of those games where not really pressing the needle, field goals are going to win this game. So I like that look towards the under, Jeff. 471, 472. Hallelujah. The 2 4 o'clock games. One starts at 4:05. That's Denver and the Chargers. And I got to say, are we setting ourselves up, Jeff, for the second game at 4 o'clock to be one of the highest-rated games we've ever seen regular season-wise, just because it's Dallas, just because it's basically the only game? And who the hell is watching Denver and the Chargers in this game? Well, for one thing, I'll probably be watching it. If we're taking a look at the lines, opening up at 6.5 early this week, Jeff, Pinnacle now showing a 4, Chris showing a 5, DraftKings 4.5, FanDuel 4.5. That line has jumped down, and I agree with the line movement in this one. I think the Chargers are banged up. I think they tend to play people close, and I look at it from a Denver perspective, Jeff. This is your last stand. Denver's 0-5 next week. You know what's probably going to happen? Harris is going the cornerback. You're also going to look at trading Von Miller, and anybody else is up for grabs, as it would just be a fire sale because your season is officially done. I think Denver gets one last stand. Do I think they're going to win the football game? That's to be determined, but I think they're going to play close, and I think the Chargers, just by the way they play, Jeff, by default, this game will be close.
Yeah, Donnie, you and I agree pretty much in every game. We have a pretty good rapport and chemistry along those lines, but I'm going to go the other way. I don't see it with the Broncos. I think a lot of people do, and maybe they think they're pretty good defensively and they can hang in games and they have to have this one. But I think this is a Charger team that's, they've been pretty maligned. I'll give you that. But they still have Keenan Allen. They still have Eckler. They still have Gordon, who will get a lot more carries today, I'd imagine. And this is a defense for the Broncos that they just can't stop the run. I mean, what was going on last week? I mean, they were horrific against the run. They're allowing yards per carry, a high level. They just can't get stops. And now you're going to throw in Eckler and Gordon. Phillip Rivers will complete passes down the field. This is a Broncos team that doesn't have a ton of weapons either. I don't love Joe Flacco. And Bradley Chubb being out obviously hurts. This is a defense that was already kind of vulnerable. I hear you, though. The Chargers they always seem find ways to lose games. And do they have a kicker yet, Donnie? No, probably not, which always seems to come back to bite them.
How about they rode that out, Jeff, for like weeks? I'm like, oh, yeah, we're just going to throw him on IR now. To get a veteran kicker, what is your problem, man?
No, it's very odd. Again, when you hear last stand, Donnie, there's a reason a team's got a last stand. They're not any good, and that's usually a symptom of they're going to have trouble. It's a road game. I know it's L.A., and there's not a great road atmosphere there, but I just think for the Chargers, I think we finally see this team kind of put a game together. It's not going to be easy, but I'll lean with LA. I think they're the better team, much better team. I think the run game gets going here against a bad defense. I think the Broncos do go 0-5, and I think this is like I don't know, I'll say 31-21. It's not going to be easy. Wouldn't surprise me if the Chargers get a late touchdown and put this game out of reach. I'll lay the points. I'll disagree with you on this one.
All right, we like to do buy or sells during the week here, Jeff. I'm going to do a buy or sell right now. Buy or sell, Harris, the cornerback for Denver, will be a Philadelphia Eagle by next Sunday.
I'm going to go buy because I don't think Jalen Ramsey is going to happen. Yeah. I mean, they're just so hard-headed down in Jacksonville. And Harris seems like the best option. They have to do something. This is a team that can win playoff games. You got to go out and shore up this defense.
And by the way, I do have in the pick six contest there, Denver plus 6.5 in that pick six contest. But obviously, as we know, it's 4s and 5s across the board. We'll see what happens in that game. 473, 474, Jeff. We could spend a minute or two on this one. Green Bay traveling down to Dallas. And if I see one more time about a game in like 2012 that Aaron Rodgers won down in, Jerry World, I'm going to have to throw up because Aaron Rodgers over his past, 22 games, 21 games, 6-15-1 against teams with a winning record. And also you're showing up without your only, obviously Aaron Rodgers is a really good quarterback. You have one weapon on offense. You have one. That's Davante Adams. He's not suiting up today. And we know the running struggles of the defense for the Green Bay Packers. Not the greatest. And now Tyron Smith's going to be out. That's a really big injury for the Dallas Cowboys. They still should be able to run the football effectively. They still should be able to move the football against this Green Bay defense. But the one thing I'm not sure of, Jeff, is I know Aaron Rodgers is good. They're going to score points against a stingy Dallas defense. But if you take away Davante Adams from the Green Bay Packers, the hell do they have?
Yeah, I'm not so sure they can score points against a good defense.
All right, there you go. Yeah, all right. I like it.
You and I did a video on this game early in the week, and I've completely changed my tune on the Green Bay Packers. First of all, they have no success on the road. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has notoriously been a bad road quarterback and doesn't win games. You're also going there without your best receivers, you said. And at the end of the day, I mean, he's your best playmaker. What else do you really have here?
Nothing.
I mean, Geronimo Allison, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I mean,
keep in mind those Marquez, did you see them play well against the Eagles? Me and Jeff could run routes today and get 100 against the Eagles. Trust me.
This is also a team. Jamal Williams is banged up. Aaron Jones, he's banged up. I mean, what do you really have here? I mean, there's not a lot of playmakers on this team, and you have a defensive thing in Dallas that I think they're a little pissed off they didn't win that game the other night. They played really well for the most part against that Saints offense. I also look at this defense, and I think the Packers, Donnie, are the biggest fraud in the NFL as we start the season. I mean, what a fraud defense they are. Secondary is good, but you're not going to have Kevin King, who showed me Kevin King is a good player, Donnie, in this league. And you're not going to have him today. That's a big loss in the secondary. You also have a defensive line that was vastly overrated because they got to the quarterback. They can't stop the fucking run. It's that simple. They got a good running back coming in, a bell cow running back that's going to eat Donnie all day, as they say. I like the Cowboys here. I think they bounce back. I think the Packers are a fraud.
Yeah, I got into the pick six contest, Jeff. One of my last plays there is the Dallas Cowboys -3.5, -104. If you take a look across the board now, there are 4 showing up. 3.5 is probably the prevailing number, but as I said, there are 4s now showing up at multiple books today. One game left on the card tonight. I got to tell you, we did a video early this week and broke down this game. We're saying, hey, here's what could happen for the Indianapolis Colts. I got to say, Jeff, I completely shifted on this game. I go 180 going from let me see how I can back the Indianapolis squad versus how I'm going to back the Kansas City squad tonight, because I don't see Indianapolis stopping them on offense. Like I could just see 35 plus points, and I don't know if the Colts are going to be able to keep up with Jacoby Brissett in this game. As I said, one of those things where you try to start out early in the week, say, here's what I like about this game, and by late in the week, you're like, I don't see it anymore. I like the Chiefs here.
Donnie, I'm going to stand pat. I'm going to be hard-headed. I'm going to take the points. And I'll tell you why. This numbers went down to 10.5. I think that's an indication T.Y. Hilton's going to be good to go in this game. And I know what the Colts are with T.Y. Hilton. They're a team that can score points. I don't trust the Chiefs on defense. It's that simple. I think this is a high-scoring, fun game to watch. Look, the Colts are a injury emergency room in the secondary and on that defensive line. They have a lot of injuries. Malik Hooker's out. Rock Ya-Sin might not play. Darius Leonard's out. All the big boys are out. I'm going to say this. I like the points, but I also like the over. It's a high total. I think this could be a real fun game for Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. We're going to have weather conditions that are pretty good. There's no snow in it. It's not a late December game. I think the Colts hang around and find a way to get inside this number because T.Y. Hilton's a baller. But I'm definitely looking at inactives, Donnie. I'm not playing this game until I know the inactives.
Yeah, no, it should look. It's Sunday Night Football. If you have a fantasy game, that's going to be good. Got about a minute here left in the show. We always like to give out our best bets. We've been doing very well in the season, Jeff. I'm going to go to 3-pack today that we're going to take a look at. I'm going to take the points with the Jacksonville Jaguars with the 3.5. I'm going to take the points with the Buffalo Bills, Jeff, at plus 3.5. And I'm also going to go with a team total, dipping into like Major League Baseball style, Jeff. Minnesota Vikings team total over 23.5. They're my 3 plays for today on the closing line.
Yeah, I like them a lot. Like them all. Again, 14-9, Donnie, on these plays.
Let's go, man. Let's do
for us this season. We're going into week 5. I'm going to go with 3 as well. I'm going to go Bills under 39.5. I think that's a boring football game. A lot of punts and field position battles. I'm going to go Eagles. What do we have in an updated line with the Eagles?
Let's go. Are you looking at total wise or looking at side wise?
Side.
Let's see what we got here. Eagles, we got a side minus 14, minus 101. So basically 13.5 would be like minus 120 in this spot.
Okay, I'm going to lay the 14. I think it's a blowout. And I'm going to go with Oakland team total under. One other thing, Donnie, throw in with Oakland, Not only do they suck offensively and can't move the ball and won't against this team, Oakland is the slowest team in the NFL from a pace of play standpoint. A lot of huddles, a lot of time wasting. This is a team that's not going to score more than 10 points. Like, take it to the bank.
There you go. So we got a couple picks up there, 14-9. Jeff, my red zone ticker is at 5 seconds ago. We do want to thank you for tuning in to SBRodds.com, tuning in right here to Sportsbook Review.
Hey, Donnie.
Closing line NFL edition right here on Sunday. What's up?
I'll take you in. I got to find a way to watch the Eagles-Jets because we don't fucking have it on TV here. So Fire Stick time. I got to find a stream.
Have a good week, everybody. We'll do it again next Sunday, 12 p.m. We'll get you ready for that Week 6 action as well. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to SBRodds.com. He's the big man. I'm Donnie. Take care.
Thank you.